Hello and welcome to another
Nope.
Start again.
Leave it in.
Leave this in fine. Let it.
Do you want to try again, or
I'm gonna try again.
I'm not gonna cut this out.
You're not gonna cut this out.
No.
I'm still gonna try again.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care. I don't
Okay,
care.
fine.
I'm gonna say it because this is the title of the show. I'm gonna say it right.
Let's get it
Hello
right.
and welcome to another episode of Nich and Jon. Is this Evangelion?
Trips off the tongue.
It really does. It doesn't though. That's the problem.
I didn't think I'd ever say it, but we may have been too clever in
Maybe.
coming up with that.
That's like the peak, isn't
Yeah.
it? The title, as it is with a lot of things that we create. No, that's not true.
The acronym is Najit.
Yeah, and whenever because every now and then I'll see that written, like you name the files Najit.
The file, yeah,
don't
cool.
you? And sometimes on our to-do list is like record Najit 5 or whatever. I'm like, who is this Najit?
Who is
like,
Najit?
It's like our Indian intern. Who's
Like
come in.
our silent partner. Shut up, Najit.
We don't want your opinions.
I'm John,
I'm Nick.
and this is That Thing.
Yeah, the way we just said.
Yeah.
And we just watched episode 6.
We're back.
Yeah.
By the way, yeah. After a
brief hiatus.
Yeah, a slight hiatus due to life really, like all manner of other commitments and conventioneering and
Conventioneering, that's a good word.
we were busy finishing off books and junk, but
Absolutely, and also as always with the lead up to the end of the year, it's all gone a bit crazy.
it's always a bit crazy. But hey, it's all beside us now. I mean, we are back in the world of Evangelion, and how.
And how?
So, the mists of time parting, and we're okay. So, where did we leave off at the end of episode 5?
The end of episode 5 was, well, there was the cliffhanger with the arrival of this angel,
Yes.
Ramiel. But what was the story up until that point? So that was...
Didn't we have a big thing where because we remember, because we should do our research for doing it. We can't remember what we did in the previous things, but
Oh, it's the episode where we find out a lot about Unit Zero and it going berserk, and
that's it, isn't it? It's all about Rey.
yeah, it's all about Rey.
Because episode 1 and 2 is a two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3 has the Shamshell, the angel, the
one with the whippy
yeah,
arms.
like the lobster one. Then I think we agreed that episode 4 was the worst thing we'd ever seen,
in all of time and history.
and then episode 5 is all about Rey.
Yeah, and was pulling us, we thought, kind of back.
Yes,
It wasn't a great episode, but it was
definitely
also on the rise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be hard pressed to be worse than episode 4.
Yeah.
And then we had high hopes for episode 6 because, boom, right at the end of number 5, a new angel appears.
And this is the angel that everyone remembers
Yes.
whenever you talk about Evangelion. It's like the big blue 2 pyramids stuck to each other floating in the sky thing.
Octagon.
Yes.
Octahedral.
I had to count the sides in my head.
Yeah. So, Ramiel.
Octahedral. Yeah, not
Yes.
gon, is it? Because a gon is a 2-dimensional shape.
Yes, so
Yeah.
an octahedron.
Yes. What
And,
See, learning maths as well.
my favourite angel.
Your favourite angel?
Personally, my favourite angel.
I don't think he's my favourite angel.
Oh.
Because we have my favourite angel coming up.
We know what's coming,
yeah.
yeah. But I remember...
he's a great angel.
I remember this angel and this kind of whole scenario really struck a chord with me when I first saw it. Because clearly, as you said, people talk about this episode a lot. This is the one which kind of really stuck in my brain.
But to be fair, this was an important angel, even if it's not my favourite, because of its abstractness. This was the first time that these giant robots were fighting giant monsters, and the first time that a giant monster was like, what is that?
Yes.
Because up until now, we've had a big green sort of, what you could say a big sort of lizard man, and then after that, like a big lobster. It's all kind of falling into the Godzilla-y, big, giant versions of small things that we have trope.
As a little side note, the first angel... Oh, well, not the third angel, but the first angel that turns up in the series. The
Is it
it's called Sakiel.
yeah,
I
Sakiel,
think.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah. Is apparently, according to all the insider knowledge and the official show notes, amphibious.
It kind of has got a weird amphibious flavour to it.
Do you get that vibe? I never got that vibe.
It's got, I mean, nothing's webbed.
It's meant to be kind of like frog.
Yeah, but it's got like that really big torso that like a frog kind of has, like sort of more muscly at the top and then sort of spindlier limbs, kind of.
I suppose so if you took a frog, stood it upright, and stuck a little bird mask on its face, it probably would look a little bit
Sounds like a Thursday evening for me.
Yeah. I wasn't being hypothetical. When you took a frog and stuck a man...
Weekly.
Yeah, when you last did that...
Yeah, it ended up looking exactly like Sachiel.
Once you got over the intense sexual thrill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is very normal.
For science. But yeah, so it's a good point, because those first two angels, while weird, were undeniably like monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they had something like a head, they had some kind of like limbs. And
I think up until that point in the show, you'd have defined it as giant robots fighting giant monsters. That's the show.
But then here's an angel, which is basically just a shape.
Yeah,
like it's
like a crystal.
What do you call it? Like a geometric. It's just what's the word? Platonic. Like just a platonic shape, and it's like, is this alive?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's alive.
Apparently, it is. It sings,
which is kind of cool, because it's like it's just so strikingly weird. As you said, just like two blue pyramids stuck together. And it's massive. Yeah. It's the biggest one. And it just seems...
Is it the biggest one? Is that a fact?
Yes, I want to say it is.
Because that winged one that comes later on... Spoilers! That comes down like a ball and then opens out. I feel like
that's a very good point, actually. That
but may
could
not
be
be
bigger.
As big. Don't know.
Mind you, that one is trying to kill them by just falling on Tokyo out of orbit, so it must be pretty big.
Yeah.
Anyway, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are.
Should we dive back into it and do the breakdown of the episode?
From square one.
Which, frankly, I don't think will take too long, because this episode moved at a hell of a pace.
It did, yeah.
Like, when we were talking about it, we were almost convinced that this was a two-parter.
Yeah, and I think we were convinced of that because of Evangelion Rebuild 1.11.
Yes, indeed, the old movie.
The whole first movie, 1.11, is up to this point.
Yes.
Basically. Well, everything we've seen up until now. In one movie, and so it makes the whole, because of course this is the final battle of the first movie, so it makes that a lot more climactic, a lot more
cinematic.
Cinematic, absolutely.
Because the stakes are very high here, and I was actually kind of amazed by how quickly they rattled through it. In this episode, like it really felt. I mean, like you look at the episodes are like 20, 22 minutes long. They're not that long.
No,
but like think of episode 4. You know. Jeez Louise,
dragged on.
The long, dark tea time of Shinji Ikari's soul, and it was just horrendous. And then this one, more happened in this episode than has probably happened in the preceding 5 episodes.
The whole series so far, yeah.
But it just stormed through it.
Yeah.
So anyway, where do we...
So it picks up literally showing us the last few seconds of the last episode.
Yes.
Where we see the beam come from... is it Ramiel?
Ramiel.
Yeah, Ramiel.
The Angel of Thunder, I think.
Okay. Hitting, going through a skyscraper, hitting Unit 1 in the chest.
Yes.
Boiling the LCL around Shinji, who screams. Ah!
Yes.
And then they retract Unit 1 back down because he can't handle that. And the beam sort of stops.
Because like most of the angels, Ramiel just suddenly appears.
Yeah. Just bam, it's just there.
Like,
that's a good point, actually. Like, there's no entry from orbit, just like the other angels. They just appear.
Because here is because in the intervening time between this episode and the last, I've spent a lot of time going through the Evangelion
so one of us has done
community.
Some research. That's good.
On like we had no research on our own episodes. We can't remember what we talked about before. But like,
where am I?
There was a fan theory for the longest time that the angels. And I'm not going to go into spoilers here because we'll cover stuff later in the series, but the angels, people were wondering, were they spawning on Earth? There was an idea that, like, wherever they came from, I mean, we kind of know, there was this idea that maybe, like, eggs or some kind of, like, embryonic state of the angels had been kind of scattered around the planet. And so, like, the 3 angels we've seen have just come from, like, the ocean.
Yes.
As far as we're aware. They
seem to have just come from the horizon. Right?
So it's this idea that like they're hatching and then kind of... Whereas me watching the series, I kind of always got the impression they'd come from space.
I always
somehow
had as well. Yeah.
But you see something the size of Ramiel.
Yeah.
Which is, as we talked about, just so strikingly weird to look at.
Yeah.
Just this massive geometric shape. But it's just... I think that adds to why it's kind of so sinister and cool, because it just kind of like, it's just suddenly there.
And they're suddenly saying like, there's another angel.
Where the hell did it come from? How did it get sneak up on us?
Alarms going off.
But it's because it has no limbs or anything.
No.
Its gimmick is that it can generate the most incredibly powerful energy attacks. Like kind of primal fury of the universe, kind of like...
Yeah, unstoppable beam of energy.
And that's what it does. So, like, they deploy Unit 1, and it just immediately gets blasted, like you were saying.
Yeah,
and
they have to bring it in.
And you see that, as you say, like that skyscraper, which is in the way, just melt like butter.
Yeah.
Because we often talk about, like, where they save money on, like, the animation.
Yeah.
So you really want it to shine in, like, the combat. But there is some really lovely animation on the stuff melting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you get a sense of, like, the raw power.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode is quite a highlight for where they cut corners and where they don't, and sort of shows what their MO on that is, you know, and where they want to make the animation really shine.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of action in this episode, but there's also a lot of sequences that sort of intersperse the action that are more just talking characters. And those are barely animated at all. I mean, I could do it in PowerPoint, I think.
Yes, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
You probably could. They probably, like... I want to say, with a caveat, that I think they hide some of their cost-cutting measures a bit better in this episode.
Yes.
But because we are now... We're like 6 episodes in, and we're aware of it, I was noticing it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, that's a thing.
But as you say, like the damage to Unit 1, the sort of the energy effects and the destruction to skyscraper, and also those are really, really well done, actually. You know, particularly for the time as well. So I was impressed with that.
But sorry, yeah, because I just kind of like, I derailed you a bit there, but I was trying to do it in a way to like kind of remind myself, because it was kind of like the episode, you're just straight into the action.
Yeah.
And it's like they've deployed Unit 1 and it's immediately just been blasted, like before he's even had a chance to move or do anything.
Yeah. And then basically, like, the after that point, it's all kind of, well, how are we meant to deal with this? You know, because Unit 1 is our killer secret weapon, and it got seriously melted. So from then on, it's kind of preparation and planning for what they're going to do. So they bring Unit 1 back in.
Yes.
They sort of
and it's kind of like its chest plate
is
all
like, melted.
It's severely damaged. Yeah.
Yeah. They eject the plug. Shinji's in there, but he's unconscious.
Yes.
And they take him out, all sort of very hurriedly. Like Misato herself is running down to the hangar to see that he's okay.
As you said, they genuinely seem
to care now, to
actually care about his well-being.
Which, which is funny, because we've been making lots of jokes about how they don't like seemingly value him at all.
Mental well-being, they don't care.
No,
but physically, like the moment
if he's dead, what are we gonna do?
But it's like you see the LCL kind of boiling.
Yeah.
And they get Shinji out of the thing, and there's blood pouring out of his nose, and he's unconscious. And we're like, oh heck, you know,
ooh, that's bad.
Oh dear.
So he goes into hospital, or their sort of equivalent of that. He's being looked after, and in the meantime, Misato tries a few things out.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird, because there's this immediate like tension of like, oh hell, an angel's attacking, and it appears to have the most powerful energy beam we've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
And they deploy Unit 1. Unit 1 is almost immediately microwaved. And they quickly withdraw it, and they're like, oh, good thing we did. Like, in another 6 seconds, he'd have been dead. And then, kind of like, the immediate tension and panic kind of disappears.
Yeah.
And then, because it's like the angel, Ramiel, moves into position. It just kind of floats. It's directly above the city.
Yeah.
And then it extends this very cute little drill out of the bottom. And you kind of learn that it's essentially directly above the geofront.
Yeah.
And central dogma.
Yeah.
And it wants to get down to them.
Wants to drill right into Nerv.
And I think it's like the first angel we've seen which appears to directly want to get down to the geofront.
Yeah. And we were talking about this as we were watching it, because at this point, it's very unclear how much Misato seems to know about what's going on. And, you know, she's very much operations director, which is one of her many titles. But she doesn't seem to, like, it seems no one at this point understands why they're here. What do they want? What are they doing? Why are Are they villains? They seem to be attacking us. Don't know why. And no one seems to ask those questions. And understandably, I suppose, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot to do. Got to save the world, make sure people don't die. So focus more on that than the philosophical implications of what these things are and what it means for humanity. But equally, the very fact that this is the first one that A, knows where Nerv is, and B, is directly attacking that, should be a really serious question for people to be raising. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's kind of like, certainly like the first time I was watching the show, I never asked these questions. No. It's only when you really, certainly watching it again, you're like thinking,
tear it apart.
Why? Like, why is this happening? What's going on? But like,
why does it want in?
But it's interesting that, of course, this massive floating pyramid thing has a beam which can just melt through solid matter like in seconds.
But
it doesn't appear to have any problems in just firing again and again and again as required. In fact, as Unit 1, because Unit 1 gets shot up on its elevator right into the
firing line.
Yeah, and it gets blasted by Ramiel. I'm like, oh hell, like it's melting through concrete and bricks and earth. Can't get through the amazing armor of the Eva, but it's starting to melt. So they're like, oh hell, like quick, withdraw it. So as the Eva shoots back down on the elevator, Ramiel's beam follows it for a short while and is actually cutting into the ground with a high success rate.
Yeah, it's really good at cutting into
really
the ground.
Efficient. Yeah, like
really good.
Knife through warm butter,
straight through the ground.
But then when it comes to actually, I want to get down there.
Yeah,
it's what the angel's saying to itself. Yeah,
internal monologue
in its little pyramidy blue brain.
Yeah,
but I've got a dainty little drill.
Yeah, which is made of metal.
Yes,
looks a lot like a drill we might make, humanity might make.
Yeah,
nothing like a laser weapon from space or a cosmic energy beam, nothing like that.
And this is why the tension kind of evaporates.
Because it takes a long time.
Yeah, and they go, well, we've estimated it will take 9 hours for this drill
to break through all the levels of defense,
to penetrate down into the geofront, which is underground. And they're like, okay, we have time, so let's think. So, I don't mean this as a criticism, because actually I quite like... one thing I like about this episode is where they're like, we have a timeline.
We have 9 hours.
Like, it's like this alien, methodical, relentless thing is going to drill down to us. And apparently that's bad. Like, we don't know what will happen when it gets there. But we have 9 hours. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Like, it's drilling down, but it's not actively hostile. Like, I'm saying it now. Maybe it is a criticism, actually, because it's like... This thing has turned up and has the power to kill every living being in Tokyo 3 in a few seconds if it wanted to. And it isn't. And it's just very gently
There is
thrilling.
Something kind of... Because I was just thinking, like, why doesn't it go for one of the tubes that the Evas are launched out of? Because it would be much quicker to cut through that. Because I know that there are doors at every point, because we see them all open up at one point as we're looking up one of those shafts. But there's nothing in between those doors. There's no earth or ground. So, it would be quicker to go down there. But I'm kind of imagining the angels, and we do obviously find a little bit more about the angels' sort of mindset, if you can even say that later on, and whether they're even really sentient in any sort of way, or whether they're more like a force, a cosmic force here to do a specific thing. But you can sort of imagine it's like, I need to get to Nerv. I need to get to the central dogma. So I'm just going to position myself directly above that and drill.
Yeah,
And it's like, I'm not going to try and find some other way, because that's a very human thing to do, is to like solve the problem. Oh, it's going to take me 9 hours to drill through the ground. I'm going to find a way that'll take me 4. That's what a human would think. But this relentless machine that doesn't even doubt its own power, because why would it? Because it doesn't have things like doubts. It's just going to, it doesn't matter how long 9 hours is. It doesn't matter if it's 300 years. It's just going to cut down and get to central dogma. That's all that matters.
But it's interesting because... You have to wonder what the general world is thinking. Because we know that, like, Nerv has its own agenda and there's secretive government stuff going on. But it's like, if on the pure face of it, we are just defending against alien invaders, one of these alien invaders is here, right now, and it's doing nothing but drilling.
Why don't we send a diplomat in?
Yeah, you'd just be thinking stuff like, if I was a member of a population, I'd be like, oh no, the aliens are here. It's the end of... Oh, wait, no.
Well, what are they? They're not... Oh, they're just
kind of...
It's just there.
Like, what's it doing?
Yeah.
Like, for all we know, maybe it wants something, and once it gets it, it will leave.
It'll leave. And maybe all it wants is a banana And it just thinks that drilling straight down is where to get the bananas from.
Maybe
and if we hand it a banana, it'll go.
Maybe it's really thirsty.
Yeah.
And it can only drink magma.
For oil.
And it's like, I just want to... It's our precious oil. It just wants to put a straw down.
Then we should go to war with it if it wants our oil. Jeez.
Yeah, actually seems legit.
Yeah.
No, I take it back. But, so it's kind of like... it feels like a bit like a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Where there's this big, like, force of nature thing. And they're like, well, we have to use our human ingenuity to solve this problem. And it's going to take 9 hours, so we have to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
So the immediate kind of like fire from heaven threat is gone.
It's gone.
And we have a bit of breathing space. So as you say, they do some experiments.
Yes. And this consists of basically testing to see what makes it fire its particle beam. Because it's going to drill. It's going to keep drilling. So how, what's the situation? How does it recognize threat or whatever? And so to do this, Misato deploys various things.
I just remembered the balloon.
That's what I'm going towards. In an attempt to sort of see what will, encourage or aggro an attack from it. And one of these is a life-size Ava 01 balloon.
No, it's not quite life-size.
Oh, is it not?
Because the
Sorry.
subtitle pops up and says, like, 1/5 decoy.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
No, it's true.
And it's deployed from a boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's like a boat sailing along. It's got all these strings coming out from the deck. And then there's this big, kind of, I suppose, in the idea of like a festival, carnival balloon.
Like a Macy's Day.
But it looks exactly like Unit 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't really look balloony, does it?
And it moves its limb. Do you know, like, they've got this, like, giant balloon of Unit 1 moving down, attached to a boat. And then its arm has got, like, a big...
Oh, that's right, yeah, because I suppose that's to connotate, like, attack.
And actually, like, this happens so quickly, your brain has no time to go, like, what the hell are we seeing?
So for a second, we see, like, a smaller, what looks like Unit 1, hanging from strings, like suspended on strings above a boat.
Yeah.
And then before we can even know what we're looking at, it gets blown up by the angel. And then it cuts back to Misato and just like, oh, well, it attacked the balloon. And then they just move straight on.
Because we were joking. We said, is that a balloon? It's just like, that's too stupid. They'd never use an actual balloon. And then they go, oh, they destroyed the balloon. It saw through our ruse.
One of the first things that Nerv makes sure is on the budget is balloons of everything that they make. So every staff member has a balloon. Every vehicle... Every unit.
They were actually going to use it
balloons.
for Shinji's birthday. But
the boat was all primed because today is Shinji's birthday.
Of course it is, yeah.
And he has to pilot the Ava on his birthday. Doesn't even mention it. He's that depressed about it.
But it's like the way the subtitle pops up and goes like 1/5 size
so
decoy.
That's not silly.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Like we just happen to
have 1/5 decoy
a ton of these lying around.
Yeah.
And of course it vaporizes it.
Nerv used to be party planners.
Ah.
That's what it is. You see, that's where all the money came from to do the Eva project. So, yeah. Yeah. So that's weird. And then she also launches a mortar from a train, which also gets annihilated.
Which makes a bit more sense.
More sense, yeah.
Because actually, what did the first test prove? Because they launched Eva Unit 1 in the city, and it got fried.
Yeah.
So then they launch a balloon in the city, like really close to it.
I think these two things, because these are only two things we see Misato do, but I think they're meant to indicate that she's doing lots of things, and she manages to glean from it that it has a radius of attack.
Because all I can think of is when Homer in The Simpsons is doing, he's like cooking at home, and he's frying something, and it bursts into flames, and just goes, And then you see him like pouring milk onto his cereal, and that bursts into flames. He goes, That's how it feels.
Yeah,
like.
She's just wasting Nerv's resources and their many balloons, which I'm sure they really like, and Shinji really wants for his birthday.
I like the idea that was actually the 25th balloon they deployed.
Yeah,
it destroyed that balloon too. Oh. And then she just reached, leans down, makes a little note on a bit of paper. Doesn't like balloons.
And then the camera pans around, and the note paper is just drawings of more balloons, and she's just gone insane.
What if we tried a bigger balloon? No, I'm just...
Misato, all of your strategies involve balloons. I went to clown college.
I'm just saying, there's only so much helium in the world. And then, okay, so balloons... not a good defence. We've established that much.
I really hope we see another balloon.
I hope so too. Yeah. You'd think if you've gone to the point, or if you've gone to the effort of setting up this incredibly detailed bit of world building, surely that can't be worthless.
No.
That's got to be worth more than 4 seconds of animation.
Balloons,
yeah, there's going to be more.
There's going to be more balloons.
And then we cut to, and this kind of makes sense. I want to say like several miles outside the city. and it's on a hillside, and we see a train track and a giant train-mounted cannon.
Like a tank almost, but like a train tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Comes out of a tunnel, brakes,
rotates
turret
its
turns.
turret, because it's a good few miles away, but this is a big old turret.
and you can see the city sort of on the horizon, can't you? Like,
and they're like, let's fire. But then immediately, Ramiel goes, oh, and this energy beam just melts the tank and
it's like
most
it
of the hillside.
detects threat.
Yes, but this is again interesting because if it wanted, it could kill every living thing. Like one sweep of its beam.
Yeah, one in a circle, everything's dead.
But it
surface,
doesn't.
anyway. No.
So it's interesting that it's only responding to threats, and it's clearly intelligent enough to tell that a tank on a hillside several miles away.
What's interesting is that it doesn't attack the tank until the tank fires, and this is important for later on with the end of this episode. As to when it attacks, because their theory after these tests that Misato does is it only responds to attacks within a certain radius. That's the theory, which of course turns out to be wrong. So having gleaned that bit of information, Misato then has to go upstairs to the big boss,
Yes,
Gendo Akari.
Still Gendo.
Yeah, because she's got a plan, and everyone's like, "You got a plan?" And she's like, "I got a plan," which is amazing considering she's only got 9 hours, and she's got to come up with something to take down something that seems unstoppable.
Yes,
But it seems like everything she's been doing has been to work out whether this plan is viable, and she now thinks it is. And she goes up to Gendo and she says that what she wants to do is snipe it from outside its attack radius.
yes, and I mean we talk about the show being a bit illogical. But this is a fine example of actually...
This makes sense.
There is a logic to it. And they're like, look, we've worked out that this thing can destroy anything, except the ground beneath its feet, apparently.
We know it can do that.
Within a certain radius. Like, we don't know the actual distance, but call it like a 10-mile radius or something. Like, it can just instantly obliterate any weapon.
Yeah.
So, this is actually, like, logical.
This is sound.
But, like, we make a long-range weapon, and we fire it from outside...
Yeah.
And the only catch is, this weapon doesn't exist.
Nope.
Well,
they have a rifle, but it doesn't have that range on it, apparently.
But it's kind of like, it's weird, isn't it? Because the plan is we'll make a big gun, like a sniper rifle, and then one of the Evas will sit on a hillside, like 20 miles away, and take the shot.
Yeah.
And kill it. And it's great. And it's like, there's a logic to this. This is amazing. But this is where the really cool, like, human ingenuity comes in, because like we have 9 hours to build this thing.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the purpose of this cannon was originally, but I got the impression that one of the things about building it was that we'd have to retool it to turn it into a rifle.
Well, yeah, because do you remember Misato then, after she gets permission, she then goes to what seems to be like a laboratory in the city somewhere, who are developing a positron energy weapon.
Yes.
Quite separate of Nerv, quite separate of the Ava projects and everything. And they basically confiscate everything they've made and accelerate the program to turn it into something that an Ava can fire. Yeah.
Now, I'd like to believe that it's the equivalent of them commandeering CERN.
Yes.
You know,
it is.
It's the equivalent of like an Eva picking up CERN.
I'm going to use this as a Christmas wreath.
You know the Large Hadron Collider? I'm gonna break it open and turn it into a tube,
flatten it out,
I'm
and
just
then
gonna
blow down it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the kind of same logic here.
It's like an electromagnetic blowpipe,
and which is why I do like this, because it's like, let's get the largest particle accelerator on the planet and we'll turn it into a rifle.
Yeah,
and let's get the bottom of a space shuttle
and use that as a shield.
Yeah, it's like we need the toughest heat insulation on the planet. Yeah. Like NASA or like the Japanese Space Agency, whatever the equivalent is.
And this is good because this suggests, obviously, that they have no idea and therefore can't prepare for the kind of attacks that the Angels are going to inflict upon them. But they have to make, like you say, make use of human ingenuity from everywhere, from all different fields, and apply them to the Avas to give them a fighting chance.
And I say this is actually one of the series' strengths.
Yes.
Because we've actually, in rewatching it, found a lot of the series' flaws. Yeah. But I remember one thing I did really like about it was the fact that Nerv was the best equipped organisation on the planet to deal with this incredible threat, which nothing in the history of humanity had to deal with.
No.
They were the best of the best, and they only ever won by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
Like, it was always we are always flying more more like catchphrases, but we're always flying by like the seat of our planet.
Flying like insert catchphrase here.
Yeah, it's just like they're always just making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
And this is like, look,
and I think maybe that's Misato's skill.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we have been like really, really having a go at Misato over the last few episodes, like, what is she for? Why is she such a slob and a useless person? Why is she so mean to Shinji? All this kind of stuff. Why has she got this job? And then when it came down to brass tacks, in 9 hours, she had to come up with a strategy.
Yeah.
And she did it. And it's actually kind of a good one as well.
Because this is where, like, it's just like inconsistent writing,
yeah,
isn't it? Because
yeah.
now you see her, and the character we see her be here is really cool.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I get it.
This strong, in charge, with a plan, quite creative, but very intelligent.
But the risk taking as
Yeah,
well.
exactly, yeah.
Because it's kind of like, obviously, world government has changed a bit, and Nerv has incredible power. But it's like, she's like, look, I have this plan. We're going to build a positron rifle, shoot it from outside its range, of the Angel's range, using a space shuttle as a body
Backup.
shield.
Yeah.
And it's going to require all power of
From
the
Japan.
entire Japanese grid.
Yeah.
So we'll have to put a nationwide blackout just to fire this thing once.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, like, that is, by any stretch of the imagination, a stupid plan. Like, because in any of us in the real world, you'd be like, have you tested this?
Yeah.
Do you even know this will work? This machine has never been built.
Infrastructure-wise, how are we going to deploy the energy?
Are you not just going to blow every circuit in the
And in
country?
fact, Ritsuko does say that when they're powering it up.
Yeah.
Like, she says something to the effect of, we don't know if this will work, it may just blow up.
But I love that, because it's like, it's really stupid.
Yeah.
But they have no other
This is all they've
choice.
got, yeah.
And they go like, and she says it, she brings this plan to her boss, and Gendo goes, yes, you have our full support.
Yeah.
Go for it. You'll get what you need. Like, we'll reroute the entire country's power.
It's cool.
And I think this is also the first proper mention of the Magi,
Yes.
the supercomputers.
3 supercomputers, yeah.
And it's very subtle, because it doesn't get expanded on until later, but they say, when she's presenting her plan, this is my plan, and they go, what do the Magi say?
Yeah.
And they go, well, 2 out of 3 think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
and they
One
reckon
of
we
them-
have an 8% chance of survival.
They say 2 of them are affirmative and the other is conditional affirmative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, and it's cool because this is expanded on later, but
Yeah.
it's the idea of these 3 like crazy supercomputers.
I
which-
like the fact that they don't fully agree.
Yes.
I like that. That's cool, yeah.
And they ask their opinions, and the
Yeah.
computers were like, yep, maybe.
Maybe. Give it a shot.
So, and it just goes like, yeah, you have an 8% chance of survival. And then she goes, this is the best percentage we could get.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fine, let's go for it. Like,
8% chance. So following all of that, they then requisition everything they need, and there's a lot of montagey, rerouting power. You see announcements going out across all the prefectures saying that there's going to be a blackout. You see cables and trucks and all sorts of stuff putting stuff onto the mountain, which is where Unit 1's going to shoot from.
you see, like, I don't know who they are, they're kind of like the Japanese national engineers.
Yeah.
And they're saying, like, how's the thing coming along? So, well, we've never done anything like this before, but for the honour of our department, I reckon we can do it in 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
And they're like, great.
Great. Thank God for the honour of your department.
And you see, like, these and one thing Evangelion does very well is a sense of scale. Because you'd get these amazing shots of, like, a mountain they've commandeered.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because they've thought about it, and going up this road, you see the mountain, you see the road going all the way down to the base, and I always thought they were like trucks, and I think they
are
kind of
trucks,
are,
I
but they're
think, yeah.
mobile transformers.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
there's just a massive chain of electrical transformers going down the side of this mountain.
This temporary camp of like electricity kind of going on.
It's kind of like the greatest undertaking that the human species has ever. Because
They've got to do it in 9 hours.
Yeah, it'd be like trying to launch an entire space mission.
Yeah.
In like 9 hours. It's
mad.
amazing.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of a bit like in The Martian, the movie.
Yeah.
Where
Which is a champion of sort of logistically working stuff out and getting it right. Yeah.
it's always, you always get like those, I guess, like, it has the most parallels with kind of like NASA movies.
It
or like
does.
Apollo
And it's the same with
13.
how the Avas are launched and how they have the sort of gantries and the piers and everything and how they're sort of stood very vertical and you're sort of looking on from the sidelines in this sort of high up balcony.
Yeah.
It's all very like you're next to a rocket, isn't it? That's about to take off and everything. It's that same sense of scale.
I just remembered there's actually a bit in Apollo 13, which I think I've only seen once.
So have I, yeah.
Is it Apollo 13? The one where it goes wrong, basically?
Houston, we have a problem. problem. Yeah.
But it's like there's a great bit where because something's blown up on the ship, like a piece of coupling, a piece of shielding came off the outside.
That's right. Yeah.
Caused damage, and now the two bits won't connect or something,
right,
and they're going to run out of air and they're going to die. And there's a great bit where, like a NASA guy back on Earth, you see him walk into a room with a box. He's carrying like a cardboard box, and
this is everything they have.
Yeah, he said this is an exact duplicate of everything they have on the ship. We have to work out how to get this socket to fit to this hole using only what's in here. and they're like, that's impossible. This is what we have to do.
We have to do it.
Yeah, we have 90 minutes to do it. You know, it's that kind of.
It's brilliant. That's like ultimate problem solving, isn't it? It's like next level problem solving.
And that's the feeling you get in this episode.
Yeah,
they're flying by the seat of their pants, and they just got to.
Yeah, that's a really good analog, actually. That's really good. I love that bit.
So then, I guess you cut away from this amazing preparation, and Shinji regains consciousness.
Indeed.
In a hospital.
Ray wheels a trolley in with his breakfast. One aspect of it is a square egg.
There is a square egg, which really bugs me, actually, because I'm like, they serve it in like a little kind of TV dinner tray.
Yeah, with lots of little compartments, sort of.
And the egg, the fried egg, perfectly fills the square little thing. But they didn't cook it in the tray.
Did they? Unless the tray is boiling hot. And after Shinji's like boiling LCL experience, like, thought you'd like this. Hey, happy birthday. And then a balloon comes in.
Shaped like Eva.
Shaped like a boiling Eva. Shaped like a boiling Shinji. They've got a boiling Shinji for some reason.
Like the tray is boiling hot and he picks it up and goes, ah! And she goes, and now you're like your dad. You burnt your hands. Ah!
Happy birthday.
Symbolic.
Anyway, and Ray comes in, Shinji wakes up, and there is a conversation along the theme of, I don't want to pilot the Ava again. I don't like it.
Yeah, because she goes, hey, how you doing? Here's the plan.
Hey, yeah.
Opens a little book.
Covers the mouth
so you don't have to animate it. And goes, 5:30, we go.
Yeah.
6:00, we launch. Like 6:30, we save the world. Yeah. Click. See you later. You know.
Drops the mic.
Yeah. And Shinji, to be honest, like, this episode moves so quickly. Shinji doesn't have a lot of time to moan.
No, he does say a little bit of like, oh, so I have to pilot the Ava again. And Ray says, yeah, you do actually. And he's like, well, maybe you don't know what it's like. I've been through more with the Ava than you have.
You've never actually piloted an Eva unit in combat.
In combat, no.
Which is true. We had our doubts, but that's actually true.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Ray says something like, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
We can recalibrate Unit 1 and I'll pilot it. Which I don't think is entirely true. I don't know whether that would work.
No. I know they try later in the series to swap.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we need to be flexible. We need to know that if one Eva goes down, someone else can pilot it.
Yeah. But they've already tested Unit 1 with Ray, haven't they, in the past? That's why she's injured right at the beginning of the story.
She was injured in Unit 0.
Oh, was she in Unit 0?
Yeah.
So she's never been in Unit 1.
No.
Which would suggest that she can't pilot Unit 1.
They seem to think it's possible, but she has she can't really make these assurances at this point.
No, but she is kind of cocky like that.
Yeah.
And so he's a bit like, oh, yeah, fine.
But then the next thing we see, and clearly he has made up his mind,
is him.
They're all on the mounting side.
Yeah.
I'm having what's her name?
Which one? Misato?
Misato, yeah. So I had a momentary brain fart, and then Misato's on a hillside with them. It's night time, and she goes, "Here's the plan."
A briefing.
And you got the dramatic music playing.
Dun, 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 dun.
And she's like, "Here's what we're going to do. Shinji, you're going to pick up the massive gun, and you're going to shoot it. And Ray, you're going to have the shield, but made of the space shuttle."
And there's kind of a moment here, and I always noticed this time when I watched it before, where Ray then goes, "So all I have to do is protect Unit 1." And Misato just goes, "Yep." She just goes, okay. And it's almost like she wants to do something more.
Mm.
And she'll always follow orders. That's the one thing about Ray, obviously. She'll always do what she's told. But she's almost disappointed that that's her only role to play. And it's like, as far as I can remember, the only time where she seems to have any sort of pride and wishes she was more important. And you sort of get this feeling, like, if you were watching this for the first time, that, oh, she's going to do something. She's going to sabotage the mission for her own, like, glory, almost. And that maybe this is her moment where she'll, like, step in and take the rifle out of Shinji's hands or something. There's this sort of, almost this slight subtext if she's going to do something, but she doesn't. But I always thought there was this weird, disappointed line that she says there, which is kind of good, actually. It's a bit more character than she has really ever displayed at any other time.
I don't think I picked up on that. That's a good point.
Yeah. But then we have a little chat between Shinji and Rei before the grand battle.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, it's quite it's artistic.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting on like a gantry on this mountainside where the Evas are standing.
Yeah.
And they have a little heart-to-heart, and their respective Evas are behind them in shot. So
they're sort of at shoulder height. So whenever it cuts to Rei talking, the giant head of Unit 0 is behind her, and then whenever it cuts to Shinji, Unit 1's behind him.
Yeah, it's like a little juxtaposition.
It's kind of nice. And they're in their plug suits, and it's the first time that they're sort of like, it's heroically depicted. Like, these kids are the pilots of these robots behind them, and those robots behind them are theirs. That they're theirs. But
also, like, they're having it's a short scene because everything in this episode moves very quickly.
Bam, bam, bam.
But it's why it's kind of good, because rather than Shinji have this quite badly kind of presented crisis, which we've seen in previous episodes, here in the span of like a few seconds or like a minute, he says, "Look, why are you doing?" It's a genuine moment.
Yeah.
Like, it actually is a scene that works.
Why do you pilot the Eva?
Because he's like having a bit of a crisis, and he's like, "Why do you do this? Like, this is horrible." And she says, "Well,
it's a bond."
Yeah, she says, like, I have to. I am connected to the Eva." And then she goes, "We should go. It's time to get ready."
And she says goodbye. Yeah, which there's a shock across Shinji's face when she says that, because it's almost like, it's quite nihilistic, isn't it? It's like, goodbye.
It's interesting what you were then saying about how she was like, so my role is just to protect Unit 1.
It's almost like she's decided now she's going to sacrifice herself.
Or rather, like, she's kind of realised that, like, oh, I'm expendable.
Yes,
it's
more
like,
that, actually.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's kind of like, so, I'm basically just there to be a human shield.
Which is kind of, we'll touch on it later, the story of Rei. That she is kind of, sadly.
So, but Shinji's like, and that's shocked.
Shinji doesn't know that,
is like,
of course.
He's like, well, don't
be like that.
Don't be like that. And then suddenly, bang, and
it begins.
And we're off, and they turn on all these breakers, and
Japan goes black,
and you see like there's a shot of like thousands of cables snaking through the woodland, and they're smoking. They're kind of like just for power.
And we see all the like the heat sinks and everything power up, and they go cold, don't they? And
and you see like Unit 1 picks up this massive proportional sniper rifle.
Yeah. And at this point, Misato briefs him and says that he has to compensate for the electromagnetic and gravitational forces of the Earth.
Yeah, like
when he makes the shot.
We're in the kingdom of gods now. Like,
mentally calculating and compensating for that is, I'm going to say, impossible.
Yeah.
But not only that, like, he's a 14-year-old boy. He's never done this before. And he says that, I've never done any training for this before. And she's like, oh, it's all right. She then says, read the manual. It's all in there. And then follows it up, same sentence, with, when the two crosshairs align, just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
The computer will do the rest.
But
so she goes from saying he has to do everything in a sentence to saying he doesn't have to do anything at all.
Because bear in mind, he's in a mech.
Yeah.
But he's in a giant humanoid mech. And this giant humanoid mech is lying on the side of a mountain like a sniper.
Yes.
Holding a giant sniper rifle the size of a city.
Yes.
And he's going to make a shot from like 20 miles away to take down. And it's like...
why do we need...
I'd often wondered about this, because it's like the Evas use weaponry, which is modelled on human weaponry,
like swords and knives and things. Yeah,
but they're almost like direct replicas, to the point where like Eva Unit 1 carries a pistol sometimes, and it looks just like a regular standard issue human pistol, but it's 50 meters long, like it's gigantic. And like you see it, like occasionally, I swear there's bits where it fires and you see shell casings the size of trucks falling and crushing cars.
The street,
So it's weird, isn't it? Because they've taken a positron cannon, maybe it was like a particle accelerator,
something like that,
and they've retooled it into a gun.
Yeah,
but they've gone to the effort of making it like a perfect scaled up replica of a human weapon, so that an Eva can pilot it.
It looks like a sniper rifle.
Okay, and we were talking about this at the time, but given that everything is at stake here, and they say to Shinji, as you rightly pointed out, let the computer do
everything.
The thing, the computer's gonna do all the calculations, apparently.
Yeah,
and you're gonna have a reticule, and you're gonna see two crosshairs, And when they line up, you have to press the trigger.
And it's as simple as that.
So apparently the computer is doing all the calculations. Beep, 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 beep. It's moving the two things, and Shinji just has to press the button.
Yes.
Why not have the computer do that?
Because this is what's so crazy, is that what was so great about Evangelion's mythology was that the reasoning behind having to fight in giant robots was the AT field.
Yes.
So it acts as an AT field amplifier, and you have to get in there hand to hand, but we're too small, so it's almost like an AT field amplifier.
Yeah.
And to do that, it has to be human shaped, because if you're not in a human shaped thing, you can't deploy your AT field in a manner that's akin to a living being's normal AT. If you're in a tank, your sync ratio with a tank is like what, 0.01%, because it doesn't have legs, it doesn't have arms, so you can't move in a tank the way you can move your body. So it's arguable that the AT field comes from an aspect of humanity.
Yes.
And the Avas are a human-shaped thing, and so they can amplify your
Yeah,
AT
and they're
field.
kind of biological.
Exactly.
But clearly, they can and do interface technology with them.
Absolutely.
Because they have inbuilt computers and everything.
But we see that scene when he's fighting Satchel at the very beginning, where he uses the vibro knife to cut almost through the AT field.
Yes, yeah.
And it's almost like he can extend his AT field around weapons.
Yes.
Certainly hand-to-hand weapons, like bladed weapons. So that kind of makes sense in its own funny way. It's like, you need the Avas to fight the Angels because we need AT fields.
Yeah.
But this gun and this whole story is about having a weapon powerful enough to break an AT field, not cancel it out like it does when you fight hand-to-hand.
Yes.
So it no longer matters. It no longer needs to be an Ava. There doesn't need to be an Ava anywhere within miles of this operation. And as you say, it could be a computer that when the calculations line up, it just fires.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what another case could be that, look, we have made, because of a time frame, we've built the biggest gun, but there is no system big enough or sophisticated enough to fire it or aim it. But we happen to have a giant organic being which could pick it up.
Because it's got a computer.
So there could be an argument that, like, we've built a gun, but there's nothing on the Earth powerful enough to aim it.
Okay.
So there could be an argument that, like, we need the Eva to kind of, like, shift and target and do all this kind of stuff. But it's still...
But still the computer does all that.
But yeah, it's like that's the thing. You could have just had it, like, the Eva just has to carry it or something like that.
And you've got two options here. You've either got Shinji is the legendary, amazing pilot who is so gifted that he can compensate for gravitational and electromagnetic forces and can make the shot, and he's incredible. Which obviously they haven't built him up to.
Yes, no, and he's not good.
So that's
what he
not
does
it
at all. No.
And the other option, which is something I feel like could have been so easily said, is that the Ava is extending its AT field across the bullet or the beam or the gun, and that it's necessary for the Ava to do it because the AT field is still required.
Yeah.
And it'd be so easy for them to do that. You know, rather than saying that we're just going to overpower the AT field and just blast through it with a particle beam, just say, no, we're still using the Ava's inherent different thing. Just ranged this time. And that gun isn't about power and energy. It's about a gun designed specifically to channel an Ava's AT field forward over 20 miles. Because let's be honest, the Avas can't do that by themselves.
No. And also, I guess the question is, basically, it's a lot of pressure to put on Shinji.
Yeah, but then that's the story.
Because, well, yeah, maybe, so thematically, it's fine. It's just like, if I was running the show of this scenario, I wouldn't risk it to the reaction time of an emotionally unstable 14-year-old.
No.
I'd say to him, look, hey, we need the Eva because, frankly, there's not enough metal in the world to build a mount for this gun. We just need you to stand and hold it. But the computer is doing the targeting.
Yeah.
But rather than say, the moment the thing lines up, you have to press the trigger, the human brain can only process at a certain speed.
Yeah.
You just have to stand there.
Yeah.
We're sorry you have to.
Be in the cockpit.
But we're sorry you have to, but there's nothing big enough nothing else that can hold the gun. And then we'll just have a computer. Have the Magi do it. Because the moment it's kind of like linked, you want that thing to fire it. Yeah.
Fire it, yeah.
Like milliseconds.
Rather than there's a half a second or whatever it takes for him to react to the crosshairs having aligned.
Because it's like, you can't have it both ways. Like, as you said, either he has to be the best shot in the business.
World. Yeah.
Or he's just a meat puppet there for the computer to...
And really, he was, at the end of the day, you know.
But he still had to pull the trigger,
He did still have to pull the trigger, which is weird, yeah. I mean, this is nitpicking. Obviously.
We are totally
because it's a fun scene and it's a cool moment. And at the end of the day, we're watching a show about giant robots battling strange cosmic entities, and that doesn't make sense anyway. So, yes, we can pull it apart on a scientific level, but the science is all bent out of shape in this show anyway.
True.
So it's fun. And we like this episode is the bottom line, but it is just, I think it's worth discussing these weird inconsistencies, because this is what we're learning Evangelion is full of from this rewatch. And it's like we're coming at this whole thing from a perspective of, well, how effectively because we held this show is like this is a great story, and I think it is, but it's like, how great is it on a high resolution level?
Because I mean, the nitpicking here is more of like in-universe nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not we're not kind of saying like, oh, this is rubbish, because this is actually, as you said, good.
Yeah.
It's a good episode, but it's just the little logic where I think they could have accomplished everything they did in this episode without the Evas.
Yeah,
but
then of course it wouldn't be.
No, it wouldn't be dramatic. But
yeah.
It's kind of like just the actual involvement of the Evas, and maybe actually this is kind of like cool in a way, because it's kind of like the Evas and Nerv have come up against an enemy, which is the Evas are useless against.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of like
build something else.
So we've got them. We might as well use them. So hence they do just end up propping a gun up and holding a shield.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of it.
Mm.
But hey, so
he fires.
He fires, but Ramiel reacts.
Now, this is key to what we were saying earlier about how it detects threat.
Yes.
It seems that everything Misato worked out about the radius was wrong. And even though they're miles out of what she thought was a radius, it detected, and it detects it as the gun is charging, doesn't it? As all the energy from Japan is being sucked into the weapon. That's when Ramiel starts to charge.
Mm.
And it's almost like he knows what all that energy is now for.
Because it does give the impression that the angels are intelligent.
Yeah.
It may not be a human intelligence, but it's clearly smart enough and aware enough
to know that amount of energy being collected in one place is about to be ejected in its own direction.
It's like an animalistic kind of cunning.
Yeah, reaction. Yeah.
But this is really cool, because it fires.
At the same time.
And the human weapon fires, and you get this... And it is like...
beam entanglement.
You are in the realm of gogs here, like the energy being blasted.
Colossal.
And so these two massive beams move across the horizon.
Yeah.
And there's like a gravitational distortion, like where they meet. Where they meet, the two beams of just light basically kind of curve around each other.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then blast off, but are kind of like deflected slightly.
Yes.
So both miss. But a mountain like next to Shinji is vaporized.
Yes.
Well,
he actually ducks his head.
Oh, does he?
He goes, whoop, like that. Yeah, and the beam just goes straight over. So it is kind of lucky Shinji was piloting, I suppose.
That's a good point, yeah.
That undoes a lot of what we were just saying.
But then that mountain just erupts into plasma.
It's just gone.
And isn't there a comment in one of the earlier episodes about having to redraw the maps?
I think there is.
Don't they make a point that like every time they drop an N2 mine or an angel unleashes a particle attack, the geography of Japan is just changed
fundamentally
significantly. So then they're like, oh,
that's
hell.
my favourite mountain.
We missed. And it's like we only really planned for one shot. So then they start recharging, but they're wide open while they're recharging. And Ramiel
fires again.
And then Rei leaps in holding
the shield.
The shield.
Yeah.
Which apparently will only last for 17 seconds.
Yes. And after she's been holding the beam for about 2 or 3, someone says, we won't be ready to shoot again for another 10 seconds. So they're right on the knife edge.
So she has to endure it.
Yeah, she just takes it.
And you see the heat shield is bubbling.
It's melting away.
Obviously, Unit Zero's armour is bubbling and melting. And
then suddenly, the reticules align again, and Shinji fires for a second time.
And the beam goes right through Ramiel.
Right past Ramiel.
Punches beam, right through it.
Straight through it. And flames come out the backside of Ramiel.
Yeah, big eruption of fire.
Yeah.
And then it dies. And it
falls and the drill stops. The drill has just pierced into the gearfront as well at that point.
Yes.
Obviously. And so at that moment, the drilling shuts down. Ramiel falls to the ground. And we see the state of the Avas. And they are both seriously boiled. Like, their outer armour is completely melted, entirely, both of them. But Shinji is now very concerned about Rei, who, of course, has been taking the brunt of that beam. And he knows what that can do to him firsthand. So he uses Unit 1 to rip open the back, I guess, of Unit 0.
Yes.
And the entry plug sort of disc that comes out, whoop,
and the EVA Unit 1 takes it out.
Takes it out and is holding it.
And you see him right away. We're getting into... It kind of was like a two-parter.
Yeah.
We have this thematic callback now.
Exactly.
To when
Gendo
Ray was
saving
injured
Ray.
in the testing of Unit 0.
Yeah, and we get that same scene of the entry plug door being opened and turned, but this time it's Shinji doing it instead of his dad.
And he's wearing gloves.
He's wearing gloves,
which
but
is
it's
sensible.
hot again. And there's a real sense of, we know this door, we know this plug, we know everything. He opens the door and Ray's in there. She seems to be unconscious, and he sort of calls to her, and she turns and opens her eyes, and she's basically okay.
Yes.
And genuinely seems fairly happy to see him. I think she was expecting or hoping kind of to see Gendo. But she sees Shinji, and he cares about her.
Yeah, and that
he's
makes
crying.
him like only the second person to
care. Show any
Yeah.
care towards her. Absolutely. And he says something to the effect of, you shouldn't say goodbye.
Yeah, and
when you
Shinji's
leave.
like so relieved and emotional, he starts crying.
Yeah.
And for once, it does feel kind of like justified. It's
And
like
it feels like a nice character moment, a nice resolution. Like, he has done something heroic after she has.
Yes.
And his motivations and his emotions are all like nice and believable.
Yeah.
And I like them. I like this story moment. It's good.
Because his point is, he's basically, paraphrasing now, but he's basically like, you need to have self-worth.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like, you're not expendable. You're
No.
not disposable.
And saying goodbye is just too sad. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then he's kind of crying, and she's like,
I don't know what to do
I
now.
don't really know what to do. And he's like, smile.
Yeah.
And she smiles.
Yeah.
And he smiles. And it ends.
And it ends. You're like, fair enough.
It's like, hey, nice little moment.
That's actually like a normal ending for an episode.
Nice little character moment, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, because it's like, if you'd cut out, I think, like, episodes 2 through 5, or like 3 through 5, if it had gone from, like, the opening for two-parter to this,
Yeah.
Shinji would be a very different character.
Yeah.
Because he's gone through, like, a 3-episode slump.
Yeah. But he's kind of on his way out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his character is one that, reluctantly accepts his role as being a pilot, but is showing more heart than maybe anyone else who works for Nerv. And thereby is growing into a hero that we can get behind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he, we talked about how surprised we were with Shinji's character in episode 1 and 2, because we had this established notion of what Shinji was like, and then watching it again, we were like, oh, actually, I'm not really seeing it yet.
Yeah.
Like, because to begin with, Shinji is quite decisive.
Sort of,
like,
yeah, he is.
He doesn't want to do it, but he goes, well, I have to,
So
and I will, and he
Yeah.
does it, And this is a situation a lot like that, where he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but I will, and
But
he
now
does.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
make the best of it.
And he does something heroic, and they both do.
Mm,
And they have a nice little character moment.
they do.
And that's the episode.
It is.
So, we've kind of, as we always do, and there's nothing wrong with this, we've kind of talked about our feelings about the episode while
As
we've
we
been
go.
going.
Yeah.
But generally, what did you think of this episode?
I like this one.
Mm.
Generally, I like this one. I thought I was going to,
Yes.
because we knew from the end of the last one what was going to be in this one. We did at that point think this was a two-parter, and I didn't think it would all be told in this episode because I didn't remember it right. But as though it moves at a pace, it never feels rushed.
No.
I don't feel, and it's certainly a necessary step up from some of the episodes we've had before.
Yeah.
And I can understand, like, because we've talked before, like when we were first watching this, how on earth did we get through those earlier episodes?
Yeah, they're rough.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the things sort of wash over you when you're first watching something, and also when we were a bit younger as well. But also, I feel like there was just enough being given, and this is an example of that. This episode is like showing what the show is capable of. Maybe not giving 100% of what you'd expect from a well put together story, well put together characters, and awesome action. Doesn't quite hit all of that, but it hits enough of it to make you think, oh, there's going to be more of that, so I'm going to keep going. And this is one of the first few really high points that would probably be enough to make you stick with the rest of the show for the whole thing.
Because, firstly, and probably goes without saying, but I agree. Like, this is a very good episode. And it's kind of, when I had all these like rose-tinted memories of what Evangelion was, and we started rewatching it, and actually I was kind of like thinking, oh god, like some of these episodes are pretty rough, pretty hard going. But this episode,
this is what we remembered.
Yeah, I was like, oh, clearly this is what shone to me. And we were talking about how people always talk about this angel, and this scenario,
and
I wonder, like, is it because the show finally hit its stride and finally kind of demonstrated what it could be? You know, is it that, or is it also an element of we've just come off the back of a couple of quite not great episodes, like one very bad episode. You know, things have been a bit inconsistent. Like, is it made doubly good by being an upswing,
but like a contrasting too
after a bit of a dip? You know?
Maybe. You got to wonder what the process was when it was all being written and made. You know, when you know, Hideaki Anno was penning episode 4 in his notebook, was you like, this is a bit shit, but I'm going to carry on with it anyway.
You can maybe see what he was trying to do, because it was kind of like, let's have, you know, it's going to be very character driven, and, you know, he'll be down and we'll go through the darker emotions, and then he'll come back and then something heroic happens. But really, it was just it was too long.
I get the feeling, and I don't know whether this is true, but it might explain some things, because we see this show up in a lot of animation, particularly serialized animation, and I wonder whether when you're given the brief, you're told what the formula is, and it's like you will have 1 episode, lots of budget, 3 episodes after that, not as much, then the 4th episode, budget, then, and it's almost like it's dictated by a formula, and then you write a story around that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, you almost don't know, because a lot's going to be spent on the premiere, like showing it off, and then, you know, things kind of dipped away a bit, and then they're like, well, this will be like a mid-season kind of...
Yeah.
Because I know in America they have the mid-season break, don't they? So there's always like a cliffhanger there.
But imagine if you, as a writer, wrote a story for an animated show, and you took it to a studio who were going to produce it, and they were like, I'm sorry, John, but every single episode is killer. And we do not have the budget / animation time in a studio to do that massive action sequence that you want in every single episode. So could you rewrite it in such a way as to make the action sequences once every 3 episodes? And so then you have to go away and you're like, well, what am I going to do if I don't have action? Okay, I will develop the characters a bit more. I will show a bit more of the world. And that you can do that very well. I think that can be done really well. Maybe Anno didn't do it as well.
But it is interesting though, isn't it? Because it's always like it's creativity through adversity.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing where they had to cut corners to make stuff work.
Definitely.
And, you know, I can certainly applaud them wanting to do like a kind of character-driven episode or 2.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
But I think it's interesting, though, that, like, in this episode, which moved at a hell of a pace and packed so much into 22 minutes, it's interesting that, like, the brief snippets of character moments, which can't have totaled more than like 2 or 3 minutes of screen time, were infinitely more effective and interesting and genuine than any of those previous episodes
before.
Like,
that's very true.
It's effective, you know, and you care about these characters so much more. And I think I wanted to throttle everyone based on episode 4. Like, I hated everyone.
I think everyone wanted to throttle each other as well.
Yeah, no one was happy. No one was having a good time.
I mean, from what little storytelling I've done, I think that, and certainly from things that I've consumed and really, really enjoyed, I've noticed that the best character work is often done in very small amounts between, given context with the greater story and the greater action of whatever the story is being told, particularly in a sort of anime hero action-adventure sort of story. You know, if you delay the action for a really, really long time, you start to lose the context for the characters. The characters exist to tell this fantastic story, and unless that fantastic stuff is happening, you can't get the power in those character moments, I feel. And I think that's what this episode has shown really, really effectively, is that by having it set between Misato planning all of Japan's energy and, you know, Ava Unit 1 you know, shooting a massive particle beam, by having these little character moments in between, it just adds so much more power to them, because they have a reason to care about each other, not just because they're told to care about each other.
But also, like, it makes it, I mean, I'm trying to imagine, like, what the not the world, but like what the anime mech scene was like at the time, because Evangelion is considered a standout. Yeah. And you think, like, when it arrived, you kind of get the impression there was nothing else quite like it.
No.
And whereas, like, there may have been high stakes before, you know, in other shows, and, you know, giant energy weapons, and
I'm sure there were.
I think why this episode kind of succeeds is because it has this grounded reality to it. And where, like, yes, they pull off something incredible, but we see them building the cables. We see them,
Yeah.
because
It's the humanity of it.
Yeah, and it makes it more realistic because we see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. It's not just we need to activate the God Hammer.
Yeah.
You just press the button and it happens.
Wheels out of a hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this is the show exceeding.
Yeah.
Like, this is it doing, and it's the promise. Like, if I'd never seen the show before, and I was starting from scratch, like, if I'd made it this far, because there was a dip, I'd be like, oh,
this is it.
I see. Like, this is what it's going to be.
This is what I was trying to say about it. Is that this was the point of sticking with it.
Yeah, like, this is suddenly interesting.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's good.
It is good.
I would like to show this episode to people to say what Evangelion is about.
Yeah.
Whereas, if someone
would you show them episode 4?
No,
of course you wouldn't.
No, it'd be like,
why on earth would you? I mean, I remember the episode that I always used to wheel out and show off, and I'll talk about it when we get to that point.
You'll let us know when we get there.
I'll let you know. But I feel like what I'm remembering is an episode a lot like this one. That has a lot of great moments, great action, great human prevailing over a massive, incomparable threat. But at the same time, some character work in between. And that's what was good about this, definitely.
No, it was a winner.
It was a winner.
Absolutely a winner. So, I mean, the angel himself, we talked about him a little, but Ramiel, bold statement, but I think my favourite angel.
Wow.
Genuinely my favourite angel. And
really good angel.
I think the impact this episode had on me, kind of growing up when I first saw it, is clearly evident because Ramiel and the particle beam attack and everything it does is basically, we're doing a direct homage to it in Orb.
Yeah, absolutely. Big floating weird geometric shapes in the sky above a city shooting huge beams.
This is what stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that, like, the angels, suddenly I was like, oh, I get it. The angels are alien with a capital A.
Yeah.
Like, we do this all the time, but you see an alien race in fiction and they're essentially...
They got 2 arms, they got 2 legs.
Yeah, they're just humans with funny makeup on.
Yeah.
It's like, but this is so far removed. And then, when that thing in, like, the previous episode where they say, like, oh, angels are, like, 98% human.
You're like, what?
We share, like, the exact same DNA.
How is that floating blue crystal anything like me?
And then that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, that gets me going because I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, that thing is biological. I have more in common with it than I do with, like, a chimpanzee or something like that, and yet it is this giant blue octahedron
impossible
that can fire particle weaponry, and I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, this is really
absolutely
weird.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be. Like, it should be unsettling, and you can't reason with a giant blue pyramid.
You can't talk. You can't talk to it.
No, that's the thing. Like, it's utterly alien. Very, very cool.
Very cool. I do agree. It's a grand angel, no question. Like me in many ways. I'm a grand angel.
You're an angle.
Oh.
So look, I mean, I think anyone listening should probably get the impression that we enjoyed this episode.
Definitely.
Do you think we said everything we could say?
I think so. I think we might have to rate it.
Okay, so I think I have a number in mind for impact.
I think I do too. You go first.
8.
I was going to say 8.
There we go. Yeah,
we've always agreed.
It's good.
It is good.
It's very good. It's a strong episode. And the Shinji-ness.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of it, but it's not. I mean, I feel like we've got to give. There's got to be a little bit of Shinji-ness because, like, I think the definition of Shinji-ness is how far away from someone who'd be like, yes, I'm going to pilot the Ava, I'm going to be a hero. He is. And he doesn't willingly pilot the Ava at any point in this episode. But he does, like, story-wise, it's good. And he does step up and do it sort of despite everything.
But you see, that's why it's not very Shinji.
Exactly.
Because he does do it, doesn't he? Like, he does actually...
He does do it. So it's going to have a low Shinji rating. But equally, I think it's not 0.
No, because he has that kind of crisis.
He does have the moany bits and the talking to Ray about not wanting to do it.
It's a tough one now, because I'm kind of...
I think this might be one of the least Shinji he's ever been, though.
Yeah, like, he has that kind of crisis moment where he's like, I don't want to do this is horrible. But then he he gets up and does it, and it's kind of like him caring for Rei.
Yeah,
is what kind of drives him to.
What's the lowest Shinji rating we've had so far? Is it 1?
Could you bring it up? This is terrible. We should probably
maybe
we should have thought about this. Because we know where he's going. That's the thing. We always because we've had a bad episode, as in how it was very high Shinji, but we couldn't give it the full 10 out of 10 because we know what's coming. Like we know he has further to fall.
Exactly. Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm getting there. Do 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 do. Oh yeah. Blah 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 blah. Nearly found it. Blah blah. Wait. Blah blah. It's nearly there. Do do do. Blah blah. Oh blah blah. The lowest Shinji rating we've had is 3 in episode 1.
Now, I was thinking 3 or 4.
Yeah, I thought we'd got lower than that. I thought we got to a 2, but we haven't. So episode 1 was a Shinji rating of 3. And then the Shinji rating has gradually gone up, even though the quality of the episodes, you could argue, has gone down. The impact of
that's probably
the inverse Shinji impact relationship.
Yeah. I made the comparison earlier with episode 1 and the way Shinji acted. So I would actually say this is a 3 on the Shinjiness. Because I think he has a bit of a crisis, but or should it be lower?
I'm wondering whether he's displayed more.
Because he just did it, didn't he?
Because basically episode 1, he's very whingy.
Yeah.
But also it's the first time he's like you got to pilot this thing. Have I? What? I mean,
but it's noticeable that he's thrown completely into the deep end. And then he says, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And here he's like, I don't want to do it. But
I'm going to do it. Maybe it is the same.
But he does it. But then of course he runs down and goes to rescue Rei. Like he's very decisive in this episode.
You know what? I think 3 is good.
Yeah.
Because I think that gives us scope for him to be even less Shinji-y.
Should we play it safe?
Later on.
Say.
I think we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
3.
A 3. So 8 on impact, 3 on Shinji.
Yes, absolutely.
Groovy.
Awesome.
Well, I think that's an episode. So, should we talk about our exciting plans for the series and what we're going to do next?
Yeah. So, our thinking is that we move on to Rebuild 1.11 now.
Yes, the first of the movies.
Yeah, rather than doing all the movies at the end. And our reasoning for this is because these few episodes that we've watched will be fresher in our minds now, and therefore much better for a comparison with 1.11 than if we got right to the end of the show and watch 1.11 then, having to cast our minds back nearly 20 episodes to remember these events. So we can compare them side by side by watching 1.11 next.
Because 1.11 is You Are Not Alone.
Yep.
The first of the rebuilds is the movie adaptation of these 6 episodes.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we figured we will do an episode, and I don't know how you feel about this, but we do a standard episode about the movie, and then we do a commentary track to go with it.
Absolutely.
So we do two episodes, so then that'll be a good kind of, we can talk about the series so far and where we think it's going, and and also be very interested to watch the movie again based on what we've just seen.
Absolutely.
And see what they
really
change and what they
to do
do.
that. Because the first time I watched 1.11, I think, was years after I'd seen these episodes 1 to 6. So, and that was at the height of my Evangelion fandom as well. So it'll be very interesting now that we've actually really torn the series apart and really, opened it up and gone, well, this has not been working, but this also is what we love about it and it's why we still love it. It'll be really interesting to apply all of that thinking to the rebuild.
Fantastic.
And see whether they've done it.
So that's so next time it will be 1.11.
Yeah, cool.
Groovy. Well, thank you everyone for joining us as we venture into the deep, dark, confusing world.
Hideaki Anno's mind.
But I feel like we've hit a mini milestone, and I hope you've enjoyed the ride so far.
Absolutely.
It's certainly been fun revisiting it.
Really has.
So I guess until next time, folks, remember, however bad your life may be, you could always be Shinji Ikari. This podcast, and others like it, is made possible thanks to our wonderful backers on Patreon. To support Big Punch Studios as we make comics like Afterlife Thinking 7-string, games like Sandwich Masters, and podcasts like the one you've just been listening to, head on over to www.patreon.com/Big Punch Studios. For just $5 a month, not only will you help make everything we do a reality, but we'll also send you 4 copies of Big Punch magazine a year. That's over 180 full-colour pages of comic action, featuring Cuckoos, Orb, 99 Swords and Catamaran, delivered straight to your door. This has been a Big Punch Studios production. For all things Big Punch, be sure to head on over to www.bigpunchstudios.com.